What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the Wrk To Create podcast. I'm your host, Colton Bacher, and this is season 1, episode 11. If you're a freelance creative traveling for shoots, you already know how chaotic and stressful it can get. Missed flights, forgotten gear, hidden expenses, it can be a lot. And if you're not doing a lot of traveling right now, but want to in the future, then I'm about to save you so much headache. Today, I'm breaking down my full travel workflow, pre-trip, during the trip, and post-trip. I'll share my exact routines, my favorite gear, and small habits that save me hours of stress. Whether you're shooting music festivals, brand campaigns, weddings, or anything between, this episode will help you stay organized, sharp, and ready to deliver, no matter where you're headed. Let's get into it.
I done came up, went through the ups and downs, but I stayed tough. Never took a shortcut and never gave up. This time around, I'ma stay up.
All right, first off, just wanted to say thank you to everyone that reached out after I missed last week's episode. I've been dealing with a lot of mental struggles related to family, religion, and some unfortunate generational cycles. Yeah, so again, thank you for reaching out. Your support really means a lot, especially in times like this. But don't worry, I'm actually about to go to therapy soon, so I'm excited to begin the healing process. And I've kind of faced a lot of the major things head on, and now I'm ready to kind of move forward and start to heal and become the best version of myself. So I'm really stoked on that. Also, episode 10. It did not really turn out the way that I had hoped. Being the 10th episode and everything, I had really high hopes, but I didn't feel like I knew the material as well as I should have, even though it is like a super complex topic. I just wanted to apologize to any of you that kind of started to lose interest with all the ahs and ums. As you know, I don't cut this, and one of the main purposes of starting this podcast was not to only help you guys, but also to help me be better at expressing myself and my thoughts. So this was definitely a major learning moment right there. In other news, I've come to a difficult but also kind of freeing realization. Yeah, lots of breakthroughs right now. I don't really feel like I need to learn a 3D software. Like, I'll continue to dabble, especially, since that's like VFX is like kind of like a part of like what I'm passionate about, but my core passion is in directing. And I think that, and this was kind of all sparked by a conversation that I was having with my good friend, Ben Gujic. He's just so laser focused on where he wants to grow his career right now, to the point that he's kind of just stopped doing everything else and just focused on the things that he really, really is really passionate about. So I'm kind of taking a page out of his book, and I'm gonna, take that advice for myself. And I think my energy is best spent learning how to tell better stories as a director. One of those ways that I've been doing recently is I've been reading this book called The Story Brand by Donald Miller. I cannot recommend this book enough. It has so much valuable and interesting information related to storytelling. And not only that, but storytelling and how we can connect that to our brands, whether that's a personal brand, a larger brand that sells products or services, something like that, artists, whatever it is. It's super interesting, and I'm excited to continue to apply that. I'll probably even be applying this to future episodes, like the structures of stories, the way I position myself when I'm talking to you guys. So many really, really good pieces of information that I will be applying in the future. In other news, oh wait, already said that. But one other thing is, for all my email subs, I have a music industry sound pack update coming your way. So stay on lookout for that. And last thing, I know, I'm holding you hostage. I'm excited to announce that my Amazon affiliate store is finally set up for you guys. So in this episode, I mentioned a lot of different types of gear that I use. I don't necessarily talk about the brands themselves because it's not sponsored, but I mentioned a lot of different types of gear that I use. And this store will now have links to everything. It's all organized and easy to navigate, and it's more than just my travel gear in there. So I'd really appreciate if you guys would check it out, even if you don't buy anything. Just by all means, scroll through there. I'm also just stoked to have another income stream. And full disclosure, again, none of this is sponsored, but it allows me the opportunity to make extra money when you guys purchase anything after clicking on that link. Your support helps this show keep going. So thank you in advance. Oh my God, let's dive into episode 11, and that leads us to pre-trip. We must set ourselves up for success. The difference between a smooth trip and a disaster starts before you leave your house. And one of the main things that we're going to be talking about here on this episode is your routine and your routines related to the different parts of your trip. So we're starting with airlines. As you guys probably know, there's a bunch of airlines out there, and a lot of them offer different programs that if you use them and purchase tickets through them and fly through them, you will build up miles and points. And in the beginning of my kind of travel career, I had three airlines, had accounts with all of them, but I never really stuck to one. And the issue is you can never really take advantage of some of those programs, those loyalty programs, if you do not stick to one very heavily. So this is my recommendation. Find an airline that you enjoy. Mine specifically is United. I have a lot of friends that prefer United, American, or Delta. It seems that those are the kind of the big three. And what I recommend is that you have accounts with all three of those, for example, but you choose one to be your primary. And what's important here is as you're talking with clients and figuring out travel, have a conversation with your client and explain that it is very important for you to fly with your primary airline. If worst comes to worst, you can choose one of the other two and still get those points. But ideally, you're always flying with a very specific airline. And most of the time, clients are willing to adhere to that request, unless, tickets are drastically different in pricing, or maybe there's flights that just aren't available for where you have to go. So that is tip number one. And not that these are really numbered, but to piggyback off of this, we're related to traveling through airlines. We have 3 different programs that are offered that you can pay for that will make your security experiences 1,000 times better. And the first one, as you've probably all heard of, TSA PreCheck. The next one is Clear Security, I think is like the full name, but it's just Clear, all caps. If you just search that, you'll find it. A lot of times you can actually sign up for Clear in the airport. I think that's actually what I did. And funny enough, my profile picture is me getting back at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. in Chicago, and I look like a zombie. It's awful. It's hilarious when I see it. But then there is a global entry, and I'll explain more about that in a little bit. But first off, I think for everyone who's primarily traveling within the United States, TSA PreCheck and Clear are going to be a massive help. Here's why. In TSA PreCheck, you're gonna get a specific line. And then you're also going to not have to take off your shoes. And a lot of times you're just going to go through a basic security scanner and not always have to put up your arms and wait for them to scan your entire body and stuff like that, which just makes it 100 times faster. And usually the TSA PreCheck line is shorter than your regular security line, because you don't have to take off your shoes and there's just a lot less that you have to deal with. The other thing with TSA PreCheck though is a lot of people have it. So sometimes even though the line is moving faster, it could be longer than the other line. And that's kind of where Clear comes in. And the reason we would get both is because you never know what circumstances you're going to be in when you're traveling, and you could be on some very tight deadlines, and some events or some circumstances will be out of your control. So having as many things as possible on your side to make sure that you can get all the way through security as fast as possible and to your gate as fast as possible is definitely the way to go. Clear, I think it's like $180 a year, and a lot of times Clear, they'll scan you, like get you all the way through their line, and a lot of times you'll even bypass a lot of TSA pre-check lines, which is great. And then circling back to global entry. Global entry is really good for when you're traveling internationally. When you're traveling internationally, you'll leave the country, go through other people's other countries' checkpoints and whatnot, and that's not where global entry like helps you. Where global entry helps you is when you're coming back into the United States, and a lot of times on international flights, they're giant planes. So you got upwards of 200, 250 people that are all trying to get back into the country all at once. And the majority of them will not have global entry. But what global entry does is it puts you into this, global database where you've kind of already been cleared as someone, and like you're a known traveler, like someone that frequently has to come back and forth in and out of the United States. And there's a separate line that is usually extremely fast, like literally just walk past the officer, let them know why you were even gone or whatever, and then you're out. And it's super, super fast. And I believe that's like $100 a year or something like that. And I think pre-check along the same lines. With global entry, though, you will have to get like a background check, and then you have to do an interview with like a FBI agent or something like that, or like a TSA agent, just to confirm that you're a safe person to have in the program. And then another quick note on these three programs: some credit cards actually offer discounts on those three programs. So check if you already have a credit card, see if you get some of those programs included in your membership of the credit card or whatever. So yeah. And then, okay, so my next tip here is always build a travel PDF with all of your information. And this is not including like flight, hotel, call times, and contacts. It's not that PDF. What this PDF is a PDF of all the information that your client would need to book a flight for you. Because a lot of times, unless you want to front the money and buy your own flights, the client will do it for you. So what you do is you create a PDF that has your top three airlines. It clearly identifies your primary one, the preferred one, and then it has like your program, like your loyalty program ID number for each of those airlines, so that they can automatically plug that in, and you get those benefits and you get those miles. In addition to that, you'll have like your birth date on there and your address and any other information that they would need in order to book that flight for you. Super helpful. And then what I do too is I save that document like to my phone in my documents folder, so that I have it just offline in case I need to text it to someone or something like that. I even have it, I think, in my Dropbox, so I can drop someone a link to it if needed. Okay, some other things that we're doing before we get on this plane. We are going to clean, charge, and pack all of our gear. We're going to just double check. We're going to run through everything that we would need for that specific job: cameras, batteries, audio related devices and recorders, your computer, obviously, cords, drives, stuff like that. And the reason I recommend cleaning and charging a lot of that stuff before you leave is because you might not always have the time to do that when you arrive. And so it's just getting one step ahead and ensuring that no matter what, you're ready to go. Especially if you're like on tour, like the turnaround times are crazy from going to a flight to the venue to the hotel, or whatever it is, and it's just like so important to just have everything ready to go. Another thing I would really recommend is packing as light as possible. And something I've done to simplify it is I have like a certain set of clothes that I bring on every single job. And a lot of times it will involve a bunch of black, just plain black t-shirts, a couple pairs of black jeans, and then, a hoodie, and, obviously like socks, underwear, all that good stuff. And then toiletries, like a single toiletry bag. And one note here is some airports are going to be a nightmare when it comes to like trying to go through your bags. And that's why I'm telling you to keep it as simple and as light as possible, because they will try and get you to check your bag, even though it has gear in it and stuff like that. So I would highly recommend to just like simplify, travel as light as possible. And here's a little pro tip. When you're packing, don't fold your clothes, roll them. You can fit like almost double the amount of stuff in your suitcase if you roll your pants and you roll your shirts and your socks and underwears and stuff like that. It will save you so much space. So yeah, you're welcome. Okay, let's get into some kind of quick fire tips. We have the Flighty app. If you're not familiar, it's an app that you can plug in all of your flight information, and it will track your flights. It will provide updates on gates, delays, everything. It is literally my lifeline when I'm like running through an airport, is using Flighty and keeping track. And it's kind of cool because it keeps like stats on where you've traveled, and it shows like this cool little graphic of like all the different flights that you've taken around the world, and it's like cool to see. Another app I would highly recommend is the Mobile Passport Control app. And this is a government app in the United States. And what it does is, if you don't have global entry, or even if you do, but this is mostly helpful if you don't, is you can kind of scan your passport, and then you scan then you take a photo of yourself after you've landed. And then you can like tell it like where you're coming from and why. And in most airports, there's actually a mobile passport control line that is separate from just the regular line. And that can kind of just give them a heads up and gives them all the information that they were going to ask you anyways. And it's just a much shorter line. It's a little bit of a shortcut if you're traveling internationally. Here's another tip, is your toiletry bag and your chargers. Go to a store and go and buy all of your toiletries, like soap, shampoo, all that stuff, and keep it in like separately. Keep it in your toiletry bag separate from everything else, and just always have that in your suitcase. Don't ever like take your toothbrush that you use at home and go bring it back and forth between like your sink and your travel bag. Just have two separate things, two separate toothpastes, two separate, whatever it is. And just always keep those in your suitcase so that you never have to repack those things. That's something that I've done that has just been so nice. It's one less thing to think about. And I've also done this with like my chargers, specifically phone charger, watch charger, things like that. Just makes it so much easier. And again, it's just eliminating all these things that we have to think about when we're going on a trip. Another tip. Just like we have a PDF of kind of all of our travel information that the client might need, we're also going to scan our passport and our like our driver's license or whatever ID you want to use. Have that offline in your documents folder on your phone, available at all times. We're going to keep moving. Quick fire here. We got bring a power cube or power strip for when you arrive on site. I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've gotten on site to a media trailer or whatever the media area is for a festival or a client or, a green room or something like that. And there's never enough outlets, especially if you're working with a team. There's just so many people that need access to power. So just bring your own power strip. And there's a lot of like slim, easy to travel with strips that you can bring. And again, make your life so much easier. Going off of that, if you're going international, every single country in Europe, it seems like, has a different type of outlet. So there's adapters that you can buy, and the adapter that I use will be in the affiliate store, and it will fit all of the different outlets that you might encounter, including even like outlets in the Middle East, which is I've traveled to Saudi and the Emirates quite a bit, and so that's been really great. Another little tip here: if you're traveling internationally, double check with your phone provider to see if they offer an international plan that you can add on to your already existing plan. I think I pay like an extra $20 or $30 a month. But what it provides is, I think I get like 10 gigabytes of high-speed data per month in every single country. So if I was to, for example, go to one country and use 10 gigs, but then I cross a border and go to another country, now I get another 10 gigs of high-speed data. So it's really nice. Doesn't cost that much extra. But if you're not willing to spend that little bit extra money, and you don't travel internationally that much, and it's just not worth it for you, another really good option is an eSIM, which is just an electric SIM card that you can purchase for the location and the dates that you will be at that location internationally. And you can choose the data plan and the type of plan, like, whether it's like calling and texting and internet usage and stuff like that. You can just go and go through that route and only pay for it when you need it. And that's great. It's it's electric, so you don't have to mess with your physical phone or anything. It activates for the time that you're going to be there, and you're good to go. Because the worst thing, and especially when I traveled internationally the first time, the worst thing was you need to communicate with your team. And you need to be able to, like, even if you're like not at the media center and you're not within the reach of the Wi-Fi, you need to be able to get texts and calls from your team members. And not having data made it so that I was just off the grid when I was at certain stages, because there was just no way for people to reach me without being connected to Wi-Fi. So I immediately switched to my international plan after that, because I just was not willing to be in that situation again. Okay, another little tip: bring a credit card, especially for international, but I mean, it's probably a good practice for just anytime you travel. But I would get a business credit card if I was you, and this will just simplify your experience, because a lot of times debit cards internationally, if you don't tell your bank that you were traveling, blah 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 blah, it'll get flagged or denied. And just having a credit card where no matter what, you can use it, and in a pinch you need to get food, or maybe you forgot like a certain gear and you just need to buy it for that trip, it's perfect. So highly recommend that. And then the last tip I have here is double check to make sure you have everyone's phone numbers. And again, this is for this is the pre-trip. We're setting ourselves up for success. And I cannot tell you how valuable it is to have every single person's name and number that is on your team, point of contacts, any numbers that the client has that you will have to communicate with. Huge. You don't want to be getting an unknown number, like a call or a text from an unknown number while you're on site. You need to know exactly who's trying to communicate with you and when. Okay, gear. This is the kind of the last little section here in the pre-trip preparation. We got cords. I know that this might not be the first thing that you think of, but there are some cords that are going to be good for just charging your gear, and then there's going to be other cords that are going to be very good for transferring data and like backing up everything. And speaking of which, that is having external drives and backups. These are things that you must always have. The way I travel is I have one primary SSD, then I have a backup SSD, and then I bring a third solid state drive as like a shuttle drive, because a lot of times when we're on site and we're working, someone will need to drop me like a really large file. I give them the shuttle drive, and that's just them. They go and download it so that I don't have to unplug all of my SSDs that I'm working off of, and then they put it on that, give it back to me, and I have the file that I need, and I'm on my way. And yeah, cannot understate that enough. And obviously, I think it goes without saying why we bring a backup drive and we're constantly backing up our data. Like, traveling with external drives is risky by itself, but it's also just kind of part of the job. It's necessary with just how much we have to move around, and SSDs I feel like are the way to go, especially like you're nuts if you're traveling all over and you're using a hard drive, like with like, you know, the moving, spinning internal pieces. Like you're just nuts. Like, use a SSD. Way less risky, still risky, but you get the point. Okay, and then just want to reiterate, keeping your travel gear and like your personal stuff, like when we're talking about toiletries or just phone chargers and stuff, you don't want to have to be constantly shuffling that stuff back and forth. And then one time you forget your phone charger and it's like, okay, now I've got to go buy another one. You know, it's just not worth it. So just keep your travel gear, like your personal travel stuff, and your stuff at home separate. Okay. Once you've packed and planned and prepped, this doesn't mean that we're in the clear, because how we move during a trip is just as important as when we are preparing for it. Here is how I stay locked in while I'm actually on the road. We gotta stay locked in, ladies and gents. Okay, once you're on the move, the goal is to protect your energy so that we can be our best creative selves. I know you've heard me say it before, but that is unbelievably important, especially in these just very quick moving environments where we need to create high quality things in short periods of time. So we do this through routines, like we said, and we're going to keep all of our essentials in a crossbody bag or a fanny pack. This just makes sure that all of your most important things, your keys, phones, wallet, all of that stuff is right here on your chest, especially because you're going to be around a lot of people, a lot of strangers. Can't necessarily trust everyone, unfortunately, and having everything right here on your chest or in a fanny pack is absolutely the most safe way to go, but also it's the most efficient because everything you need is right here, and you're not fumbling through your pockets and reaching in the back and trying to pull out your wallet and all that other stuff. Like, again, the whole point is to keep it simple as possible, as simple as possible. Next is I always bring a refillable water bottle, because Lord knows they charge an arm and a leg for water at airports, dude. It's crazy. You want a 12 ounce or a 16 ounce bottle of water? Like, say goodbye to $8. It's insane. And especially if you like high quality water, like I guess if you're bougie like that, if you're healthy like that or whatever, like, then I guess that's for you. But for me, I'm trying to save as much money as possible. And I actually use this Walla refillable like travel water bottle, and it's been great. My buddy Ethan Garland recommended it to me. I saw him using it and I was like, damn, like I need one of those. I'm not spending crazy amounts of money on just water bottles, and they're always getting lost and whatnot. So highly recommend that. And how do we be our best creative selves if we're not hydrated? Got to be hydrated. We got to be drinking as much water as possible. And every airport I've ever been to has refillable stations. Actually, I will say there are some international spots that will like force you to pay for water, which I think is kind of messed up, but whatever. Okay, another part of the routine is documenting everything. Take your phone out, take videos, take photos, horizontal, vertical, whatever it is. Even if you don't think you'll use it or you think that you'll never use it, I'm telling you, just record. Just capture the moments. Get all cinematic with pushing into like a airplane window. I'm telling you, you'll probably use it at some point, and if nothing else, you can look back on it later and be like, wow, I did that. So yeah, highly recommend doing that. Another part of my routine, I take photos of all receipts and download all PDFs from expenses right after you make the purchase. So like, let's say I'm grabbing a bite to eat before I get on the plane. I'm going to, as soon as I get my receipt and they give you like the order number or whatever, take my phone out, take a photo of that. A lot of times I'll upload it to QuickBooks so that I have a document there. And then just like constantly making sure that I have all the receipts for everything, because the client will always ask for that if you want to be reimbursed. And it's just a great habit to build because no matter what, if you're trying to expense something for your business to, take money off of your taxes, then you have to have documentation that you actually like made that purchase like for business reasons and you weren't making it up. And a lot of times it will just like say the airport name and stuff like that and where it was purchased on the receipt. So really important there. Okay, getting into some tips here. So we said that we have like a crossbody bag or like a fanny pack, right? I can't tell you the number of times this has saved me, but bring meds. That could be ibuprofen. It could be melatonin, cough drops, Tums, because I guess I'm old now or something. It's even like caffeine pills. I don't necessarily use caffeine pills all the time, but it's like, because we have energy drinks and stuff. But in terms of just traveling light, having those things in your crossbody bag are going to be huge, because I cannot tell you the number of times I've not been able to sleep because I've had too much caffeine or the time zones are off and I don't usually go to bed at that time or something. Got to take melatonin. Or it's just been a long day, you haven't been able to drink enough water, your head is pounding, take some ibuprofen. Like, that is the strat, I am telling you. Another tip, we download a bunch of content ahead of time, whether it's podcasts that you like to listen to or Netflix shows or movies, things like that. Like, just find ways to keep yourself entertained on the flight, or maybe educate yourself through like a podcast. And that's what I like to do. I like to listen to podcasts and like take notes and apply some of that stuff to what I'm currently doing. But yeah, and this kind of just makes it so you don't end up spending extra money on like plane Wi-Fi or something, which doesn't always even work. By the way, you can pay for airplane Wi-Fi, but that doesn't mean it's actually going to work, which is wild to me. And then this is something that I've started to view as more and more important, and that is eating healthy when you travel. Guys, like, I know the McDonald's is tempting, and trust me, no one loves McDonald's more than me. Like, especially like a good, like a juicy McGriddle in the morning. Come on. After some espresso from Starbucks or something, like, it slaps. But I'm telling you, that'll catch up to you really fast. So the things that I focus on is high protein, low sugar, and then carbs are your energy. You focus on that, whether it's eating Greek yogurt or, getting, like a fresh made panini or something from a more like local restaurant or a healthier restaurant inside the airport will go a long way. Avoid like pop and high sugar stuff, because that will cause you to crash, and you're already fighting a lot of through travel. Like, your body is experiencing a lot of unnatural things when it comes to time zones and elevation and all those things. So sugar kind of just accelerates the the like deterioration of your energy and your ability to focus. And then, like I said, carbs equals energy, and you're probably going to be running around a lot. Okay. And then just a note on that as well. When you arrive to your hotel or your Airbnb or wherever you're staying for this job, try to get a workout in. I know that sounds crazy, and a lot of times I don't do it myself. So I'm being a little hypocritic here, but like, I'm telling you, you will feel better about yourself. You will feel better as the days go on. And just, it's a good way to ground yourself and stay focused on the things that are important. It also helps create a routine. So like we've been talking about all these routines, and that is by far one of the most like healthy, and I don't know, it just, when you give to your body will give back. And like, I'm telling you, it's just, it's something else. Once you start to make it a routine, you start to feel a lot better and a lot less drained. And travel is draining. We all know that. And if you don't know that, you will find out it is extremely draining, especially when it starts to become back to back to back. All right, one last little tip here is sometimes I will actually use bulky clothing to like hide my like my body bag or my fanny pack, and it's hilarious because these airlines, oh my gosh, they're like one personal bag and then one like carry on and blah 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 blah. If we see you having a third bag, we're gonna ask you to put it in the other bag, or we're gonna have to charge you. And it's like, oh my gosh, chill. Like technically, in my opinion, body bags are a form of clothing, so like they shouldn't be able to do that. But whatever. But what I'll do is I'll wear a hoodie, and then I'll just put the body bag underneath the hoodie while I go by and scan my ticket, and like then just put it back on the over my clothing as soon as I get like walking down the terminal. So I don't know, it's annoying, but that's what I do. And I don't know if you're not into, like, some people get really cold on flights and some people get really warm, so you might not always be able to wear a hoodie, but I don't know. That's just my strat. Gear. Moving on to gear. All right. And I think a lot of people will agree with me on this one. AirPod Pros. They are hands down the best investment I have ever made, especially for travel, because they got the noise canceling and they're so low profile. Like if you want to lean your head, on a pillow or on the window or something like that, you don't have like bulky over the ear headphones messing with your sleep. And you can turn on the noise canceling, and a lot of times like the battery life is like, and mine are old too, and I would say with noise canceling on and music playing the entire time, I can get a minimum of 4 hours out of the battery life for those. And I feel like most flights are gonna be anywhere from 2.5 to 6.5 hours, and that's pretty much coast to coast, or maybe coast to coast is 8 hours. I can't remember, but you get the point. Highly recommend AirPod Pros. I don't know what I would do without them, to be honest. And the noise canceling, you would not think a lot about it, but I'm telling you, if there's a kid on board screaming and crying, or if you're just not in the mood and you don't want to listen to all those freaking announcements from the flight attendants and the captain, just turn on that noise canceling and drown them out in some vibes, or a podcast episode, whatever it is. That's what I do, anyways. And then portable, like battery charger, like the power banks. Oh my gosh, dude, you would not believe how many outlets do not work in the planes, or how many of those older planes that are still flying that just don't even have a way of like charging anything. And so just having that tossed in your body bag or your fanny pack or whatever. Huge. You could even just, I mean, sometimes I'll even just put it in like one of the side pockets in my camera bag. And as I put the camera bag overhead, I'll pull it out and I'll have my charger cord already in my bag, in my, body bag. But yeah, highly recommend that. Okay. These two are kind of giants in terms of gear. Okay. We're talking about suitcase and camera bag. These will be the difference between a pain in the ass travel experience and one that is a little bit less of a pain in the ass, okay? But yeah, I'm being dramatic, but they do make a massive, massive difference. Your suitcase, what we're looking for in a suitcase is one that obviously it stays within that carry-on size. 2, it needs to be a roller. It needs to have all 4 wheels on all the sides so it can stand up and roll by itself. We're not going to be dragging it behind us. That is a no-go. What else we're also looking for is, especially if you travel internationally, you got to do some research, or just click on my Amazon link and I'll have my suitcase in there that I use, which I should mention was recommended to me by my buddy Jackson and Peter, who travel way more than I do. And I was like seeing their camera bags and their suitcases, and I was like, damn, like those are literally perfect for what I was looking for. And I just hit them up and asked them, and they were like, yeah, this is the move. And like, so for example, mine is like a Lojal. I don't even know how to say it, but you'll see it in the link. And it's a little bit pricier. I think it's like $350, something like that, but it's so worth it. And you can definitely go even more pricey. Like, one of my buddies, Ty, he just bought this like $1,500 carry-on suitcase, and it's virtually indestructible. So I think like at some point that's gonna be the move anyways, because I'll probably be sick of like, at some point the bags start to break down, especially over years of use. Like, it's just kind of unavoidable unless you get like one with a lifetime warranty or whatever. But yeah. And then camera bag. The number one aspect to the camera bag, and yes, I would say that like, you could argue if you're not traveling like a ton on planes that you might not need this, but I would say the number one thing I'm looking for is that it has like a little sleeve on the back so that it can slide over your suitcase handle. That is a lifesaver, because the thing is I don't know about you guys, but I try to pack light on the gear side of things. Like, I can pack light on clothes all day, but on the gear side, I tend to overpack, and I'm not trying to carry that around on my back the whole time. And sometimes I have to, and it sucks. It sucks so bad, and it just makes you so much more tired. It makes the trip just so much more of a drag. So if you can slide that over the handle, have it just sit right on top of your rolling bag. Now all you got is just one hand. You're pushing everything all in one, and that weight is not on you, and you can breathe and you can eat, and you don't have to put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off, blah blah blah. You get it. In my camera bag, I like to use it's Peak Design. It's a Peak Design. It's like a 30-liter bag. It's pretty big. It's also was recommended to me by Jackson and Peter. It's like the maximum size that I would recommend for travel, because sometimes it doesn't fit even in the overhead sometimes. Definitely not under the feet, and sometimes I get yelled at by the flight attendants for that, but I would still do it if I was you. But yeah, you'll see that link. And then this is like kind of an underrated little travel hack piece of gear that I've been bringing with me. It's been pretty nice. But you'll notice if you fly on a lot of planes, they're really loud. And if you put those, they have those like really cheap headphones, and you're trying to like watch a movie or something on the screen in front of you. They have the really cheap headphones. They don't block out any noise at all, and you have to have the like volume so loud that it's like blowing out your eardrum. And I hate that. I can't stand that. Or even they have like the cheap over the ear headphones, and awful experience. And I don't know. Like, us creatives, we're all about the visual experience and the audio experience when it comes to watching movies. And so I got this aux to Bluetooth adapter. So what I do is I plug the aux like into where you would normally put the cheap, shitty headphones, and then you just connect your AirPod Pros and turn on the noise canceling, and now you can listen to the movie no problem off your headphones and switch back and forth between, your music or your podcast, back to the movie, whatever, seamlessly, and it's really nice. I will say, though, that this little device becomes irrelevant when like some of the newer when you're on like a newer plane, because they'll allow you to just connect your Bluetooth devices to your TV in front of you anyways. But yeah, I don't know, found it helpful. And again, you never know what kind of plane you're going to be flying on. Well, I guess you could know if you did the research. And actually what's funny is the Flighty app that I mentioned will even give you that specific information about your flights. It will tell you exactly what type of plane you're on, and even like what year the plane was built. Like, it's pretty wild. A little side note there. Okay. The job might be done once you land back home, but your workflow isn't. What you do after the trip can make or break your next one. So let's talk about post-trip. When traveling, most freelancers drop the ball after the job is done. So here's how we finish strong. Let's get into some routines. Immediately as soon as we get home. And I am the worst at this, but just unpack your clothes and like get your shit thrown in the laundry ASAP. Just get it out of the suitcase, unpack it all. Obviously, keep the travel staples in there, like we talked about. But, oh, man, the number of times I've gotten home and just like been so drained that I just don't even want to unpack the suitcase, and then it just sits there for like a week, and I'm getting yelled at by my wife. Yeah, no, don't do that. Just make it a habit. Unpack your clothes right away when you get home. I know that might sound weird to say, but I'm telling you, it takes an entire another level of stress away from the entire experience if you just take care of it. Okay. Especially if your gear got dusty or wet, we need to make sure that stuff is clean, because if there's dust, dirt, or water in places that it should not be on your gear, and that sits there for a long time, we don't take care of it right away, that could ruin it and damage it and cost us a lot of money. So we don't want to be doing that. And, I say this just specifically in extreme circumstances because, no matter what, I still try and make sure that my gear is clean when I'm packing it. But I would say it's more important to clean it immediately after a trip if you had to choose between the two. Okay, and then especially if you have another trip coming up, like, and you're doing back-to-back gigs, we want to make sure that we start charging batteries and all of those things, because charging batteries just takes so long sometimes. It's really annoying to be honest. Sometimes I'll even buy like a bunch of extra chargers for specific batteries because I just don't want to wait to, take them off, put them back on, take those off, put more on. Like, so annoying. But if you do it right away after the trip, just start getting stuff on the charger. Makes it a little bit easier, a little bit less stressful when the next trip comes up. This is another thing. If you haven't already, back up all your footage, all your projects, all the data, even the photos you've taken of the receipts and all that, all the PDFs, back it all up. Don't wait. That is the worst case scenario, is if you lose that stuff. That's our entire business, is working with those assets. Make sure those are backed up. And then this is a little pro tip. So what I do is I take all those photos of the receipts, all the PDFs that have to do with expenses, and I put them in a folder in my project. So I'll have like, like a master project folder, and then it has all the folders of everything else in it. And one of those folders I name documents. And that's where I put all my receipts in addition to the invoice after I've made it. And it just keeps, and then, I also put contracts in there as well, like contracts that have been signed or anything like that. That's where all documents can be found for that project. So if you were to just go into one of my drives and like look at all the different projects, they would all have a documents folder with all the documents from that project specifically. So just staying as organized as possible. And when tax season comes around and you want to expense a bunch of stuff, because we're not trying to pay the maximum amount of taxes, right? We're trying to pay the least amount. That's where we go. We go into those folders. We have proof then too that if we are expensing something, that the expense actually exists and that it was for what it was for. It's just, don't leave anything to chance. All right, going into some final tips going in here. Okay, debrief. What worked and what didn't. This is important. Just like after the dust is settled, after the project has been done and you're at home and you have some time, sit down, walk through your processes, walk through your routines. What worked, what didn't? How did you feel not working out and eating shitty food? Like if you felt super drained, just try, give it a shot. The next trip, work out, intentionally find healthy food to eat, drink a fuck ton of water. And this is gonna be the last tip I would say for kind of post trip is don't be afraid to ask other creatives how they travel. This is by far how I've learned the most about all of this. Just like little tips and tricks here and there. Like when someone told me about global entry, like my mind was blown. I didn't even know that a program like that existed. So again, like don't be afraid to ask. A lot of times people are more than happy to help you. Like they know it's as stressful as, they know it is just as stressful for them as it is for you. So again, don't be afraid. And then on the gear side, I did want to mention one quick thing because I was talking about like data and making sure everything's backed up. I use this app. It's called Free File Sync. And it's a free app where it literally just, there's so many different ways that you can customize it and back up data in certain ways, but it just makes it so that you don't have to like Control C, Control V on every single file, or, like you don't have to look through every single file, make sure they're all there. You don't have to do that. You literally just tell it exactly what to do, and it will create like mirrors, or it will sync two drives and make sure they're exactly the same. It's been unbelievably helpful. So free file sync. And then, so that's the full travel cycle. But let me make this abundantly clear with a little hot take, the hot take section. You know what it is. If you're a freelancer and you're not treating travel like a part of your professional workflow, you're doing it wrong. I believe it's our responsibility to be the best that we can be. And traveling isn't just about getting there. It's about staying sharp, being prepared, and creating your best work on the go. Every little routine you create counts. And if you want to be the best possible creative that there is, this is a highly underrated way to set yourself up for success. Yikes. That did not roll off the tongue well. But you get the point. I want to nail this home. Like, this might not feel the most important, but I'm telling you, doing these things will free up. We've talked about it in the past where it's like you want to eliminate as many points of resistance as many roadblocks as possible ahead of time so that we can be our best creative selves. And that this is a part of that process, is being the best that we can be. Is if we're tired, if we're being sluggish because we haven't taken care of ourselves and we haven't prepared, that's a big uh-oh. And We want to be there for our clients and make sure that we get asked to come back, and then that way we can travel again. So let me know what you guys think. Do you agree, or do you just wing it? If so, you're wild. At this point, honestly, I don't really have I haven't come up with a topic for next week's episode, believe it or not. This is normally where I would say that, but I'll figure something out, and I really hope that you come back, because I had a lot of fun with this episode, and I hope that it helped you. If you want, by all means, check out the Amazon affiliate link to my store. It'll have everything there that we talked about, and a lot more. I even have like links to all my gaming gear and streaming gear and stuff. So check it out, see what you think. And then, like I said, for all my newsletter subscribers, you're going to get an update here soon on the music industry sound pack. If you haven't checked out my newsletter yet, it's called A Work in Progress, and it's going to have all of the most valuable parts of each episode sent to you on the same day that the episode drops, and it can all be read and digested in under 2 minutes. So, it's a little bit easier than listening to an hour-long podcast. So that's just my way of like trying to make sure that no matter what, you guys are able to have some sort of value and learn something, or be able to take something away and apply it to your business and your creative processes. So the link to that is in the description and the show notes. If you found what you heard today valuable, even just a little, please consider liking, subscribing, following, commenting, and even leaving a review on your podcast app of choice. It helps this podcast get discovered, and hopefully, as a result, we can help more people. Your support means the world. Wrk To Create, Wrk To Create. Damn. Wrk To Create, Wrk To Inspire. I'll see you next time.
I'm on a roll like a jalopy with the brakes cut. I done came up. Back then I had to stay up.